Hey friends, welcome back to Hot News. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. I think that's just my intro here. I always want to make sure that you're having a good life and that you're ready to ingest the tech news, because doing that on an empty stomach is never a good idea. Making sure that you're ready as an individual is important to me. So hey, how are you? Welcome. You're very important. Just like our sponsor today is important, who happens to be Displate. Now, I don't have any Displates on my wall here in this office because I've already taken them down and moved them to the other one, but I do have the box. They come in an amazing box as it gets screened out a little bit. Displate, in case you don't know, is where you can find fabulous metal prints that you can hang on your wall with magnets, and it's been one of the easiest parts of the move. All I had to do was take the display off the wall and then put a new magnet up in the new office and slap it on there. Nothing, no muss, no fuss. Taking the magnets off the wall is easy, doesn't tear the paint. It's been amazing, and you can get them in all of the different types of designs that you could possibly want by going to the link in the video description, displate.com/UFDTechOfficial, and using coupon code UFD to save 15% off of your order. You get amazing metal prints that mount easily, can be transported easily, and are just phenomenal. And they plant a tree for every display you buy. So check them out down below. But you know what you're not going to want to check out? And it pains me that I even have to talk about this in today's episode of Hot News, because Intel just decided, you know what? We're not losing to AMD bad enough. We don't have enough of a reason for everybody to just make fun of our high-end desktop chips. We really need to give them a couple more. So I want to throw this scenario out for you. AMD announces the Threadripper 3990X at CES. Intel sees that and says, we should probably launch something like that too. So that is where today's rumor is coming in. Apparently over on the Chip Health forum, we've got a CPU-Z submission for the upcoming Core i9 10990XE. Yes, my friends, name is about the same, and apparently it's going to have 22 cores, which is great because the 10980XE only has 18. So 22 cores, which is a 4-core increase. It looks like it's going to have a similar cache setup and a clock speed base of 4 gigahertz, but then the one that's running in the CPU-Z benchmark seems to at least be able to hit 5 gigahertz in at least 1 core, according to this release. We also have a Cinebench benchmark, which shows that it can hit about 14,000 points, which is about as good as a 3960X from the Threadripper generation. That's 24 cores of 48 threads, which would mean that they're in direct comparison. The 3960X is going for around $1,400, and with the 10980XE going for about $1,000, it actually looks like these might be in similar price categories. But this is the best that Intel has to offer. And I haven't even gotten to the worst and most hilarious part about this, because AMD has effectively lost its reputation as being super hot furnaces on the CPU side of thing. So this 10990XE, in order for Intel to pull it off, comes in at a face melting TDP of 380 watts. This is one of the reasons why we didn't even see the 10900K at CES announced with Comet Lake. We covered that in a previous Hot News episode, which you can check out there, is because it's pulling 300 watts from the socket. Now you can imagine a 10-core, 20-thread, not high-end desktop chip pulling that much power when it's just supposed to be normal is ridiculous. Well, try to over double the core count and then keep it within spec. 380 watts on the TDP is insane. What do you think of this 10990XE? Let me know down in the comments. Keen to hear from you there. Then let's cover a few little rumors that got covered previously, that AnandTech actually went to different vendors at CES to get the skinny on them. Dr. Ian Cutress was able to interview a few people and found out that there is no such thing as a TRX80 or WRX80 motherboard. That never existed. This is a rumor that came out when there was still speculation regarding whether or not AMD was going to even release a 3rd gen of Threadripper, and then there was the speculation that there would be the TRX 40 and then a TRX 80, which was supposed to be the premium, 8 channels of memory, supposed to be a supreme motherboard. it doesn't actually exist. And then there was another rumor that came out that Comet Lake could potentially be on two different types of sockets on motherboards, the LGA 1200 and the LGA 1159. That one actually has a bit more of a concrete basis because some of the Comet Lake chips were actually being tested on the LGA 1150 packaging, because there's no substantive difference between Comet Lake and any other CPU that Intel has released recently. They're just going to force us into a new motherboard, one, because they can, and they need something to actually accurately deliver the power of 10 cores and 20 threads that pulls 300 watts. And then two, they probably also don't want to rely on motherboard manufacturers not giving a big enough BIOS chip for people to upgrade to this third generation of CPU on the same type of motherboard. So the LGA 1159 claim had some substance, but it's not an actual motherboard, not really coming. But what is really coming is AMD's new mobile CPUs that are probably not something you want. They unveiled their Athlon Gold 3150U and Athlon Silver 3050U, 2-core chips with some Radeon graphics at 15-watt TDP. You can check out the link in the video description if you want to know more, but this probably isn't going to appeal to a whole lot of people. But what will appeal to a whole lot of people is EVGA's new RTX 2060 KO. This was unveiled at CES last week and now is apparently officially on sale or pre-order over at Newegg. However, EVGA didn't decide that the price of $300 was good enough. They decided that they needed to go even lower. So now we're looking at a $280 price tag, which puts it in direct competition to the not yet launched RX 5600 XT. There's no actual reason to buy the 5600 XT if you can get the RTX 2060 KO for the exact same price, because one, has ray tracing, which for all of its intents and purposes actually is a feature, but then AMD themselves is comparing the 5600 XT to the 1660 Super. The 2060 at the same price makes the 5600 XT obsolete before it's even launched. I said obsolete, but I really meant just unvaluable. Why would you buy it? And why would you buy a MacBook with its butterfly switches? My friends, this has been a thing that's been reported for a while. They break more than every other keyboard, but thankfully, Apple, with its updated MacBook Pro 16-inch, changed over to a normal key switch. Well, apparently with EEC filings that have come out, they're actually going to be updating their other MacBooks in order to have not the garbage switches. Thanks, Apple. Finally, glad for you to introduce that feature, which also with Pro Mode. This is a new thing that's appearing in Catalina OS betas that we're finding is something that helps to avoid thermal throttling issues and also ignore some power restrictions that have been temporarily replaced. So in the beta build, it says that apps may run faster, but battery life may decrease and fan noise may increase, and fan speed limit is overridden when the Pro Mode is activated. This is something that I think everybody's known that MacBooks needed. There was a whole issue last year about the i9 thermal throttling. Finally, they're releasing a feature built into the OS to combat this. Good job, Apple. Better late than never. And we probably won't be saying that about Apple bringing USB Type-C to iPhones, because according to the ongoing legal battle that they're having over in the EU regarding putting a standardized port on their iPhone, which would be USB-C at this point, Apple says that it would ruin innovation for every phone to have the same port. Quoting, Apple stands for innovation. Regulations that would drive conformity across the type of connector built into all smartphones freeze innovation rather than encourage it. Such proposals are bad for the environment and unnecessarily disruptive for customers. Apple, I am pretty sure that USB has iterated a lot more over the years than you guys had, from the 30-pin power connector to the Lightning. Lightning was great at the time. It was a digital power connector. It made a whole lot of sense when you unveiled it, but now USB-C has kind of passed you in technology. You're already implementing it in your MacBooks. You're already implementing it into your iPads. Why continue to fight this fight? You're using it in other things. Just put it in your dang iPhones, okay? Unless you have some super fancy connector that you're coming out with for the iPhone 12, why would you do this? I don't understand. What the heck? But if you have an iPhone on one of these US carriers, you might be in trouble, because there's a Princeton study that has come out showing that 5 US carriers, AT&T, T-Mobile, TracFone, US Mobile, and Verizon, are vulnerable to SIM swapping tactics, where they intentionally answered questions wrong when talking to a customer service representative regarding trying to get a SIM swap. But if they only got one question right regarding a question that the customer service representative asked them, well, then they would be able to do the SIM swap and get access to all of the things things that come with having somebody's SIM card information. So T-Mobile and US Mobile have already responded to this. The other ones haven't as of the time of filming, but this is highly concerning because this is actually the way that Linus Tech Tips got hacked a couple of years ago, was because they were able to SIM swap his phone number and get all of his two-factor that way, which is why we need quad-factor authentication, none of this two-factor crap. And this actually doesn't surprise me because I was just on the phone today with the internet service provider to get internet at my new office, but the previous tenant didn't deactivate theirs. All I had to do was answer some benign questions and they canceled the previous tenant's service and activated mine. But how do they know that I'm not just nefariously doing it? I don't know. Customer service representatives not doing the up and up checking on stuff. But you should check out this new leak of the Galaxy S20 Ultra, which is going to have some phenomenal specs. 16 gigs of RAM. I could take or leave that. I'm okay with 12. Coming in 256 or 512 gigabytes of storage, potentially up to 1 terabyte. And then also would have a 108 megapixel main camera, 48 megapixel 10 times optical zoom, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 45 watt option to fast charge, which can give you 0 to 100% in an hour and 15 minutes, and microSD slot. Fantastic stuff. Apparently, this is going to be on the S20 Ultra and not the S20 Plus. So the highest end Galaxy device up until the Note 20 launches will be the S20 Ultra and not a Plus device like it has been previously. And hopefully Microsoft is fixing Windows search. That's something that is apparently coming out with a new indexer diagnostic that they launched on January 3rd to help potentially fix one of the worst issues of Windows 10, its inability to actually search for the things that you're trying to search for when you're searching for them. They just reveal things that are dumb and don't work. It's terrible. But you know what Microsoft did? They screwed over Rockstar because GTA 4 can no longer be played on the PC via Steam because, as Rockstar put it, GTA 4 was originally created for Games for Windows Live, which is a defunct program at this point, and they can no longer get keys from Microsoft for the game to actually authenticate the activation on them, so you can't play it anymore. Rockstar says that they're looking for other options for distributing GTA 4 for PC and will share more information as soon as they can. This seems like something that they could have predicted. The fact that they didn't, a little concerning. But Mazda is predicting that people won't want to drive electric vehicles if they perform like electric vehicles. No, my friends, your EV needs to perform like a gas guzzler. Why would you get an EV if you don't want to feel like you're in a gas-powered car? Well, apparently, not only are they limiting the range of their upcoming MX-30 by limiting the battery size, but they're also limiting the torque so it doesn't feel too fast. What? Why would you do this? The whole point is that you get the extra torque and the extra range, and it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun to drive EVs. That's how we take over the world with them. Anyways, what I want is not that car, but I want this mouse from Asus. They announced their ROG Chakram gaming mouse, which now includes a joystick where you would normally position your thumb, which made no sense when I heard of it. But then when I watched their promotional video, which is terrible and gimmicky, it actually makes some sense to work as like an analog joystick when you're using vehicles in a keyboard and mouse game. Sometimes using a controller for certain games makes a little bit more sense because you get that analog movement, and analog keyboards just aren't as good. Having an analog joystick on your mouse makes a ton of sense. I'm actually really impressed that Asus is doing this. I want this mouse. Asus, if you're listening, please send it. And I'm going to send this episode of Hot News into the sunset because I'm going to be done. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Don't forget to check out today's sponsor, Display, at the link in the video description. Use coupon code UFD to save 15% on your Display order of dope metal prints that go where you want them. I'm still recovering from sickness, so thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm out of here. I'm Brett. You're awesome. Bye.